It's Christmas 2020, and do you know what that means? Yes, it's the 190th anniversary of the Munich Christmas riots of 1830, a date which will forever live on in infamy as one of the darkest days in the history of Bavaria. Well, not really. It's not the most important or significant thing that's ever happened, and it's actually really difficult to find any information about it at all. But I do think it's worth reminding ourselves that some Christmases in the past have been even more miserable than this one. Now, 1830 was a pretty exciting year in Europe. Earlier that year there'd been an attempted revolution in France, which saw King Charles X being replaced by King Louis-Philippe I. Hang on, you might be saying. Wasn't the French Revolution in 1789? Well, yes, it was. But the monarchy was restored in 1815. Now, this period of French history started off reasonably okay, but when Charles X came to the throne, he started trying to return France to its pre-revolutionary days, and that got a lot of people, and particularly young people, very annoyed. So all across Europe there was a certain revolutionary atmosphere, and then, as now, it was students who were feeling particularly progressive. The Holy Roman Empire had ended some years previously and replaced by the German Confederacy, but this was still a collection of states. What more revolutionary-minded people wanted was a modern, unified and democratic nation-state. So, imagine how nervous the Bavarian authorities got when, on Christmas Eve 1830, a group of students made its way through the city, making a lot of noise. Nobody now knows why they did this. It might have been a demonstration against the university authorities, but it might also have simply been Christmassy high spirits. Still, the men-at-arms were called to deal with the situation, but a couple of the students refused to show their identification papers, and so they were arrested. At that point, all the other students tried to start a riot, and it took the intervention of the chief of police and the city commandant, who ordered the students' release, to defuse the situation. By this time it was the evening of Christmas Day, but more was to follow. On the evening of Boxing Day, the 26th of December, a military patrol encountered a fight between students and apprentice craftsmen, which was fairly normal in Munich at that time. But when they tried to break up the fight, both parties joined forces and started fighting against the soldiers. The situation escalated and spread, and the military responded the following day by getting reinforcements ready. The following night, 200 or 300 students gathered in front of the main headquarters of the City Watch. Men-at-arms on horseback were called, but were quickly surrounded by jeering students. And when these men-at-arms were ordered to just trample the crowds, that is when the fighting broke out. Eventually, the military managed to regain control, and perhaps surprisingly, only about 15 people were arrested. And that pretty much marked the end of the Christmas riots. The Bavarian authorities believed that these riots were politically motivated. Members of a fraternity that were thought to be behind the unrest were banned from studying anywhere in Bavaria, and students who were not from Munich were ordered to leave the city. The city authorities and the university were able to get some of these decisions reversed, and only the suspected ringleaders were actually jailed. The following August, an appeals court found that the ringleaders were not involved in any kind of conspiracy to revolt. Of course, this was only one event in a whole series of events that saw great changes right across Europe, and it took some time. Not until 1871 was Germany finally unified, and not until 1918 did the German monarchy finally come to an end. Yes, well, that was a strange Christmas video, but then this year's Christmas is strange. Perhaps it's worth remembering that we have had stranger. So on that note, Merry Christmas, everyone.